Encased in a custom mech suit filled to the brim with horrible weapons, all while wearing an eye patch. He couldn't be more of a mercenary if he tried. It's Siegecrafter Blackfuse. This is a weird fight. Not so much a hard fight, as it is a really weird fight, though it is quite fun. I'm going to go through all the abilities first, and then we can talk about the assembly line. You'll need 2 tanks, 2 to 3 healers, and 5 to 6 DPS. Siegecrafter applies a stacking debuff on his current tank called Electrostatic Charge. Tanks should swap the boss at 3 stacks of this. Make sure not to swap earlier than that if possible. I'll talk about why in just a bit, but remember to make sure that the tank gets 3 stacks of the debuff. Each stack increases damage taken from this ability, so you may need to use cooldowns as you gain stacks. The boss will target a random player and after a while will launch a saw blade at them, dealing damage to everyone in its path and leaving a spinning saw on the ground that deals massive damage to anyone near it, as well as knocking them back. Be careful with these and try to have ranged move to the same general area to plop down the saw blades. Having several saw blades near each other will come in handy. Just be careful not to get caught between them and then bounced around and killed, as this can happen. The saw blades will last indefinitely, but can be cleared through the use of a certain ability which we will go through later in the guide. For the most part, plop them down together away from the boss and then stay away from them. Tanks and healers keep in mind that every time an ad is killed, the boss will use Protective Frenzy, which doubles his attack speed for a few seconds. Tanks should use a cooldown for this, and healers should be ready to spam some heals. The boss will summon an ad called an Automated Shredder. This shredder needs to be picked up by a tank right away, and the tank that picks it up should have 3 stacks of the debuff. This is because each stack of the debuff massively increases the damage the tank does to this ad. So with 3 stacks, the tank should be able to DPS it down fairly easily. The ad takes reduced damage from all players, but the tank with the debuff will be doing so much more damage that it can negate this effect. The ad will be dealing AoE damage to the entire raid through overload, and the damage from this will increase the longer the ad is alive, so the sooner it dies, the better. The shredder also takes damage from other things like saw blades and fire, so the tank can stand the shredder in the saw blades to help kill it. Make sure to keep the ad away from Blackfuse though, as if it gets too close, the boss will heal it, so it is very important to keep the ad more than 35 yards away from the boss at all times. Having the shredder standing in several saw blades will be a huge help with killing it, but tanks can also use DPS cooldowns to kill it as well. The ad will use Death from Above, where it jumps into the air and lands in an area shown by a yellow impact marker. Get away from the impact marker until the shredder lands, or it will deal damage and knock players into the air. Once it has landed, it will be stunned and take increased damage for a few seconds, so use this time to finish it off if it's still alive. Now for the assembly line. In the northwest parts of the room you will see a conveyor belt and 2 pipes. Jumping into those pipes will send you through to the conveyor belt. While on the conveyor belt, you won't take any damage except from the lines of fire, so avoid those by moving through the gaps. Every 40 seconds, a bunch of disassembled weapons will be brought along this belt, and DPS need to kill one of them. Killing one disables that ability during that round. However, once you kill one, the others become immune to damage, so you can only kill one and prevent one ability per round. Not killing any weapons will give Blackfuse a shield, reducing damage to him by 90% for 20 seconds, on top of having to deal with all 3 abilities. So you really want to kill one of the weapons. To do this, you will need 1 to 2 DPS to go through the pipes. We found that 1 DPS with cooldowns could do it without any trouble, though 2 DPS can be used as well. Going through the pipes puts a debuff on the players, preventing them from going again in 60 seconds. Because the weapons on the conveyor belt come every 40 seconds, you will need 2 groups of DPS to handle it, and they can alternate who handles the belt so that their debuff can reset. Keep in mind, once your job is finished on the belt, you can walk into the pipes at the end to return. Our DPS kept saying that trying to jump into the pipes was weird and tricky and you could miss and die, so it was best to just walk into them despite the apparent gap between pipe and platform. The weapons that come through can be 3 out of 4 possible options, and which one you kill depends on your group, as every group will have certain abilities that give them more trouble than others. The Shockwave missile turret will launch a missile into the ground and leave a drill bit in the ground. The drill will explode outwards over time, one ring at a time, much like the protectors of the Endless Fight, and handling it is pretty much the same. Stand near the edge of the ring about to explode, and then once it explodes you can move into that now safe portion. This deals lots of damage and knocks you into the air if you get hit, so make sure to avoid it. The laser turret will target a random player and follow them around with a laser beam, creating lines of fire on the ground. The targeted player should run away from this and try to run in such a way that the fire which spawns is not in the way. Generally, the outer edge of the room is good for this. The electromagnet will use magnetic crush and get rid of all the saw blades, as well as pulling players toward it and dealing mild damage every second. It makes movement difficult due to it pulling players around, and having no saw blades makes it more difficult with killing the adds, especially seeing as the constant movement makes it difficult to position the add in a fire patch instead. Players should make sure not to stand between the magnet and a blade, as the blades will deal damage to anyone in their path. The Crawler Mine will summon Crawler Mine adds, which fixate on random players and try to get to them and explode, dealing massive damage and knocking players into the air. The targeted player should run away while ranged kill the add. It can be slowed and snared, though if it is not killed in a minute it will become super fast and will not be slowed down, meaning it will kill its target. It shouldn't be a problem if ranged are actually killing the adds, and this mechanic really just stops players from kiting them forever. We tended to get rid of the Crawler Mines, and if they weren't available, we killed the electromagnet instead, as we found those abilities to be the most troublesome. But which ones you kill and disable is up to you and your group. Use Bloodlust at the start for your nuking pleasure. Thanks for watching this guide to the Siegecrafter, and for more guides, check the playlists in the description, and of course, subscribe. Good luck, and have fun.